1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't see Dave here, but I know he was here earlier.
I'm here.
He's still on.
Why aren't you showing on my screen? That's weird. Oh, this is, yeah, somehow this thing doesn't. Participants. Let's try it this way. There. Okay, perfect. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 9. So, and Jonathan, so 6 out of 9. So we are way more than a quorum. So we are flying on. And as you all saw, Nancy is helping her partner with surgery, and Nancy is medically wiped out, so couldn't come. So I will pretend to be Nancy. Okay, so just quickly following up on when I asked before we started recording about Andrea Crooms, who had promised Nancy and me to be here, and unfortunately isn't, and evidently didn't tell Kevin why she isn't. And hopefully will be here at the next meeting because she had promised to tell us about the hauler contract. And I have also, as you know, filled out the MPIA to try to get a copy of the hauler contracts, which Marilyn said we needed to fill out to actually see the contracts. And this Karen Gordon, who you fill it out with, had said she expected that we would have it within 10 days of November 6th, which is past, but we don't have it yet. So we don't know anything about that. So let me just start very quickly in talking about these hauler contracts, because I think we on the SWAC are supposed to be somewhat to DOE, the voice of the citizens, to report issues. And so I'd like to report some issues with West Laurel and our favorite hauler, Bates, who for the past 4 weeks, every single week, has failed to appropriately pick up the yard waste / compost at our end of the street. Very often, we'll pick up one toter and not the other toter right next to it, or we'll pick up the toter and not the bales of sticks, or we'll pick up the bales of sticks and not the toter. What's going on with this, Marilyn? I thought Marilyn was here. Is she not?
Yeah, she's in the room.
Okay, Marilyn, are you there? Maybe she stepped away, so we'll ask her then later. But I mean, it's almost like they're playing games with her, with us at our end of or our actually whole road. And it keeps getting reported to 311. So the neighbors are very interested in how much Bates has been fined for these 311 reports. So we'll have to wait for Marilyn to come back. But it's just a totally dysfunctional system.
Barbara, hold on.
Yep.
Marley's fixing her microphone, but have you reported it to 311?
Yeah, these all get reported to 311 multiple times. And this last time I even convinced the 311 person that I could report for the whole street that it wasn't picked up. And they didn't scream too much, first saying that each person has to report it. And I said, absolutely no, the Department of Environment says I can report it. And they said, oh, okay.
Kevin, this isn't your problem, but 311 is a joke. We've had
Yeah.
issues on this street with cars parked in backyards and on the front lawn, and it's been reported numerous times. And every time we call, oh yeah, we have the complaint, we're investigating, and it's been 90 days. I mean, but that's not a solid waste issue. It's just a 311 issue. It doesn't work.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, Kevin, I
Yeah.
want to add one thing too. What's happening up in Barbara's area up in Laurel, maybe it's confined to that area. I suspect not. Bates is collecting from other places, and maybe we're having the same problems elsewhere. So I think it'd be good to really follow up and see if you can get staff to go out there and follow some of the Bates trucks around and see what they're doing.
And they do come out then. I mean, like they came out today to pick up Jen's yard wastes, which was not picked up yesterday. And we believe they indeed came with a separate truck because it came before the trash was picked up. And I hope that they didn't throw it in with the recycle when they picked that up. So maybe they actually sent out a separate truck. But the idea that we have to, in our taxes, pay for a separate truck to come out from Upper Marlboro to the north end of Laurel and back, it's the CO2 footprint for this trip, the time, the money. I mean, it's just totally absurd. And these two toters are sitting within 2 feet of each other. It's not that hard to pick up both. Yeah,
Barbara,
so,
uh,
sorry, yes,
Could you email me the SR number that you got?
SR.
I mean, when you made a call to 311.
Yeah, I can do some of mine. The neighbor, Jen reported the one this week because it was hers. They picked up mine and didn't pick up hers, sitting right next to each other. So then the other question, well, actually, I'll wait for before Marilyn comes on and then ask because she may know the answers to these more. Maybe we should rather continue with the agenda. So as you all know, the TIEE, the Transportation Infrastructure and whatever EE stands for, committee on the 14th of this month passed the increase of the SWAC membership from what they had erroneously put it at 9.0, changing it to 9-215. And Dave and Bill and Nancy and I believe you were there also, weren't you, Bill? Testifying for that. And then today at an incredibly long session of the county council, which was finishing out all the bills that have been sitting around and took forever. They then eventually got to passing it in the whole county council. So all this is good. But it was okay. I got to testify for a bunch of other things while waiting for that. So that was all useful. Okay. Oh, I guess sorry, looking at the agenda, call to order. I forgot to do a call to order. Roll call. So officially we have Mohammedam and Jonathan and Chuck and Bill and Louisa and Dave and me.
Yes. Yes.
So everybody except Nancy, who is an excused absence, and Nyla, I believe, right? Okay. Next one, agenda. Committee reports. Dave, why don't you do your wonderful things with greenhouse gas?
Okay, thank you. We're now scheduled to have a second sort of the University Park compost collection beginning at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, December 3rd at the Organics Composting Facility. Barbara and Bill have already volunteered to help, which we really appreciate. And if there are any other commissioners who would like to help us with the sort, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you are going to do that, just contact me. And we'd like to have you out there. We think that it'll probably take probably from 10 till maybe noon or a little bit after. It goes fairly quickly, but having additional people there will be good.
And what we might want to do after it, because last time we actually had a hiatus in the middle of the sort, and Dave and I went out to a nice little diner right across the street where they tried to tell us that they could put the takeout with a plastic bag because of blah, blah, blah. And we couldn't quite remember the law. So we should go if anybody's available, we should go there again for lunch after and get a takeout bag and then really read them the riot act and no plastic bags for takeout. Because I feel bad that we didn't know that to correct them at the time. So Dave, would you be available for going out for lunch after?
I'll have to look at my schedule. If I'm not doing something early afternoon, yes, I'd be happy to.
Great. Because I think you treated last time, so I think it's my turn to treat too.
Okay.
Okay, keep
let
going.
me- Yeah, let me continue. The reason we're doing this second sort is because we're following up on a sort that was done of the University Park compost in May. Since then, the town has discontinued giving bio bags to town residents. And we want to know if residents have now resorted to using plastic bags when setting out their food waste and contributing to the plastic contamination. So we're going to compare and see if there's a change in terms of the amount of plastic that's now being delivered, at least from one area of the county. So that's kind of why we're doing the second one. And appreciate both DOE and MES for allowing us to do the second sort. We'll be getting that material will be coming in the day before on Monday, and then we'll do the sort on Tuesday morning. That evening on December 3rd too, there will be a meeting of the University Park Sustainability Committee with a presentation and a pitch to the town about going from its voluntary composting program to a mandatory one. Michelle Blair, who is managing Laurel's composting program, will talk about their plan to begin its mandatory program beginning on January 1, 2025. The SWAC Greenhouse Gas Committee recently sent a letter to the mayor of University Park and its council encouraging the town to convert its compost program to a mandatory one in 2025 and follow the lead of Laurel. Similar letters will soon be sent to Hydesville and Greenville, two other municipalities who currently operate voluntary composting programs. So we think this would be, Laurel's going to be doing it beginning of January and have it fully running by July of 2025. And I think it would be good if some other of the other municipalities in the county followed suit. And I think that would be a way to kind of improve and increase what we're doing. And even University Park, which has a 40% participation rate, has been kind of stagnated at that level, even though we've been doing it now for probably 10 years. So we would like to increase that level to, somewhere 75, 80, 90% if we have the mandatory program. On November 4th, 4 commissioners participated in the tour of the Brown Station landfill that was given by the landfill manager and his chief engineer. We saw the first section of the new Area C being prepared, where the county's solid waste will be buried between Areas A already closed and Area B soon to be closed. And that will, Area C will now be the place for the next several decades where the trash will go. Because
That was Monday, November 4th.
November 4th, yes. That's now in the past. During that on that tour, I had asked Kevin if we could have some additional people on the tour, and because of, I guess, the lack of time, Kevin said we would have to do a second tour, and I was asking Kevin if there could be a second tour now, the first or second week of January. I just saw tonight that Kevin was saying that that wouldn't be possible because of the fact that there is going to be construction going on at the landfill, and it would have to be at some future date. I'd like to ask Kevin or Marilyn if, instead of having the tour where we were driving around on the landfill itself, if we could just meet there at one of the buildings and have a discussion, and maybe you could even show some photographs of the new Area C that's being prepared. But the people that I'd like to invite are people from Sierra Club, representatives of the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, one staff member from the regional EPA office, the University of Maryland, World Centric, and possibly some others to talk about, who are all involved in composting and landfill issues. I also think it would be good for the commissioners, even those who were there at this previous tour, to come back, because I think there'll be a really good discussion and it'll be a learning process. That's my report for the month. I do have some additional questions for Kevin or Marilyn, but I'll wait till after Kevin's made his report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Are there any other committee people here to report on committee actions? Bill, do you want to, it's not really a committee report, do you want to give some comments on metal sabers? Bill?
I don't know what you're talking about. Metal sabers. What's that?
Those metal pieces, the street cleaning.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed since they started in my neighborhood, they started a street sweeping operation, and since they've done it once so far, and afterwards I've picked up probably well over a dozen now, pieces of metal that are about 1/8 of an inch wide, of 1/16 of an inch thick, and between 6 and 10 inches long, that are pretty much certain to be the bristles from the street sweeper. And these things are just, I guess they come off and they're in the streets. A lot of them have pointed ends. I don't imagine they're real good for tires, and certainly aren't real good for kids picking them up and starting to use them as play toys. But I don't know what I've been meaning to get to call Public Works, since it's their program, but I haven't gotten around to doing so yet. But it doesn't seem to be a good thing to have falling off of those trucks, is these bristles. And because I don't know if, again, we haven't had a second one to see if they are periodically, it comes off of every route, or that they aren't picked up by, well, I've picked up any one that I've seen. Of course, I only walk one side of the street at a time generally. So the other side of the street, who knows? They're supposed to be, and they do apparently try and sweep both sides of the street. So I would imagine there's probably an equal number to those that I've collected that would be found on the other side of the street. And again, this is within a very, small area that I walk, it takes me an hour to walk in the morning, and that's when I've been finding these things. But it was a bit disconcerting to see them all over the place. And it took me a while to figure out where they were coming from. But I'm pretty sure that's where they are. And I don't know, what, if anything, can be done about it. I can certainly, I'd be interested to see statistics on how much they're actually picking up on the street sweeping operation. In fact, I was really guessing that somebody would wise up to the fact that, oh, street sweepers are coming around. Well, I'll just rake my leaves out to the curb and leave them there for the street sweeper to pick them up. And of course, people have done that in my neighborhood, but they do that every year anyway. Prior to the street sweeping operation, they still think that, I guess, somebody miraculously comes around and picks them off the street, which they don't do. Anyway, that's that.
So related to Bill's good report, let me ask Kevin or Marilyn, should you be on yet? Is there anything we should do in going to the neighbors or people in our neighborhood who do sweep their leaves into the street knowing they shouldn't, and they miraculously do go away because in any rain they get carried down the storm drain? Is there anything that we should say to these neighbors, that we should report to 311, to you guys, to someone, that somebody goes out and tells these people, or we just let their leaves go down the storm drain? Kevin?
Barbara, sorry. I'm not sure about the mechanism to report what some residents do, but um, I guess it's part of littering, right? So possibly can be reported to 311 or perhaps connect with the homeowners association to have the issue addressed and remind the residents not to, um,
Yeah, I do the newsletter for the community and that's always in it, but how do you get people to read the newsletter or to obey by what you write? So I don't think the community association can do anything about that. It's not a homeowners association, it's just a civic association, so they have no authority.
mhm.
I would
So
imagine
just have to, I should report it to 311?
it's a property standards issue, so that falls under DPI to, as the enforcement authority for it. Of course, they don't react to, their inspectors don't do anything if they see it. They only respond to stuff that's reported through 311. So I would imagine they drive right by it.
Sometimes.
No mind.
They sometimes respond to stuff reported through 311.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's a qualifier.
Okay,
I suspect since the leaves are in the street, it's not a DPI issue, it's a public works issue. Because once they're in the street, I don't think DPI has any jurisdiction.
Well, it has to do with, they're the ones who enforce property standards, and I think that's a property standard as far as things go. But anyway, whoever is, it doesn't do it. They just accumulate, like Barbara says in there. I'm waiting for somebody to park on top of them and their catalytic converter set to pile on fire. That's what I'm waiting for. Have yet to see it, but I'm sure it's a possibility.
Hi, this is Jonathan. Well, I agree with everybody. Our only avenue is the 311, and that whoever is responsible to take action, maybe the Public Works or DPI, they should really send out inspectors so that they can do what they're supposed to be doing. But our only avenue is to report the case to any case to 311. Thank you.
okay. I will report to 311 and then report to you guys how that didn't do anything.
Oh.
Cool. Okay, anything else before we move into Kevin giving the Resource Recovery Department update?
Nope.
So then, if we don't have anything else before moving into that, Kevin, if you could please give and thank you for sending it out to Nancy, who forwarded it to me.
All right, good evening. So some updates from the division. For the EPA infrastructure grant, so RRD has developed the proposal and we have submitted it to the county for approval and submission to EPA. So the grant application is for the construction of a receiving building, as I've mentioned during your previous meeting, at the compost facility. So it will handle uploading of food and green waste, and it also has a grinding area, external discharge and biofilter to regulate odor. So by December 20, we should have submitted that grant to EPA, and we'll get the result next year. The proposed facility is complementary to what we have recently purchased, which is the packaging machine, which is now operational at the compost facility. Second, the Area C infill project. The construction is progressing as scheduled, and target completion date is October 2025. The emission study with UMD. So Andrea and RRD had a meeting with UMD last October 23, and the agreement was to defer the study after January 2025 because of the active construction activities at the landfill. So RRD wants to, finish all the construction activities prior to the start of the research with UMD. And regarding the LFG RFP, we have received 10 proposals, and it's currently being reviewed by our proposal analysis group. The group is in charge of reviewing and providing recommendations on which proposal to choose from in terms of the best proposal that will benefit the county. So the target date for completing the review and awarding the grant is before end of this year.
Before you go on, Louisa,
Yes.
since you are new here, there are a lot of acronyms, the Brown Station Road Sanitary Landfill and liquefied gas, the RFP, asking for proposals. Anytime these acronyms don't make sense to you,
Thank
please
you.
call in, scream up.
Yes, I will. Yeah, the RRO took me a while to figure out, but I got it. Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Okay, I'm sorry.
RRD, Research Recovery Division.
Oh, right, RRD, there you go. Yes.
So
But
Okay,
that
so-
was a couple months ago. Now I got it.
Okay, sorry
Yeah.
about interrupting, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. So LFG RFP stands for Landfill Gas Requests for Proposal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be repeating these acronyms, in your succeeding meetings.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll have a test for you next time.
All right.
Okay. Compost outreach. So, Barbara, as based on our previous discussion, we would like to solicit your suggestions in terms of embedding the right language in our food composting outreach program. And in fact, we have started to integrate some, greenhouse gas emission messages in our material. So if you have, additional suggestions, just let us know, and we will discuss and, consider it.
Is it super? Thank you so much. Is it possible that we can proofread, edit, get a word in when they have either that we could write something, or if whoever they is, which we haven't had it explained to us who they is, but if they write something, that we could read it and edit it for accuracy before it gets sent out?
Okay, I will discuss it with Marian, because we have an internal process where, RRD has this draft messages, and then it goes to our communications team. But yeah, we will update you about the materials that we will, the messages that we will develop based on your suggestions.
Great, because there was in one of the mailings recently, maybe it was in the DOE Sprout or one of those, they actually did talk about methane. So part of it was real good, but part of it had a bunch of real glitches too, that shows it was written by somebody who really didn't understand the whole thing very well. So it would have been very nice to have that proofread by somebody on the SWAC who could have made it actually accurate.
But Barbara, you can send the language anytime to us. For example, if you have new suggestions, or what else need to be included in the messages, let me know. And
okay, but I don't, I don't. So I should just write a message. Tell me how long it should be. Should it have pictures with it? Give me information for what you want on such a message.
Okay.
I will love to write something like that, the draft. I could start obviously with the draft that we handed out at that day-long event
Green
down in,
Summit, Green Summit.
yeah, wherever was it? Langley? No,
No, it was in Hyattsville.
Hyattsville, yeah. Yeah, so the one that Bill and I handed out down there. But that might be too long. I don't know. So I'd like some feedback on that one because I've sent that to you guys. So feedback, is that the length you want? Is it, how do you want that modified? Okay,
Oh, yeah. Um, so if you're gonna provide us with some language about the messaging, just be concise with what you want to convey to the public, Barbara. Probably
give me a word limit because concise can mean 50 words or it can mean 500 words, depending what you're talking about.
okay. All right.
So, I mean, concise is not a target to shoot at. I mean, I obviously don't want it to be verbose, but actually to explain the thing does take a few words.
I would think some of it might depend on what media you're using to transmit the message. It's one thing to have a handout. It's another thing to put something
Mhm.
so people that can read it on their phones, that type of stuff. So there may have to be several formattings at least of the information to allow it to be used in multiple media presentations.
Very good point.
Barbara,
Yes.
also kind of in addition to what Bill is saying, maybe we should also be talking about possibly other media approaches or sources and brainstorm that, because it sounds like in the past, sometimes it's difficult for the general public to even know or see some of these, some of the information that has gone out. Maybe we should discuss about possibly better ways of getting it out to the public.
Great. So Kevin, let's follow up on that. How is it decided in which methods it goes out? And like some of the things that go out, like Andrea Crooms had that one article where she actually discussed the reasons for composting, where it never really mentioned that composting doesn't generate methane, unfortunately. But it was a good attempt. But it was at this funky journal or
Mm.
publication or advertisement that I haven't found anybody who's ever heard of it even. So how do we find out who decides where these things go?
So generally, we utilize our social media platforms, our website, some ads. We try to use as many platforms as we could to so our messages get to the residents or communities. That's
Right. I mean, very few people, the people you'd like your message to get to say, you're not composting, please compost, are not going to go to the DOE website to look for information, I bet. I mean, that's just a wager, but I'll put the whole ranch on it. So how do you decide what you're actually going to do to try to reach the people who aren't composting? And again, the sprout that goes to the committed people. So the only way that I have seen you guys reaching out to try to get the whole general public who aren't already committed environmentalists is with the county-wide mailings, snail mail mailings. Has there been another way, and can we get another snail mail mailing?
I will ask Marlene about it. But yeah, we did mailings before when we had the
Right.
introduction of the curbside compost program.
And I mean, you had, I think, either 4 or 5 mailings about the introduction of the curbside composting. As far as I know, not a single one of them mentioned the word greenhouse gas or methane or climate change.
Mhm.
So they were entirely how to. It was put your compost container in your left hand, have your toter in your right hand, move your left hand above your right hand. You know, it was that sort of thing. But it was nothing on why it is you would want to do it.
So if
And
you,
unfortunately, the article from Andrea Crooms focused on how it saves money for the county because they are selling the leaf grow. And my guess is your average citizen who doesn't care too much about this environmental stuff says, okay, it saves money for the county. Now, why is it that I should do this? I mean, it never said even that this has anything relevant to your taxes. It was set it up as a them versus us type of thing. It wasn't set up as a we type of thing. And I think it's real important that we set up this messaging as a we. Yeah, so we would love, and I would certainly love to, and I bet that Dave and very likely Nancy and Bill and probably Louisa and probably
Yes.
other people would like to be very much have a offline meeting with whoever is your messaging team.
so Barbara, on how the messages are disseminated, it's something that is done at the DOE and county executive office level. They decide. We just already just provide the inputs, but it's mainly, done and led by the county executive office, DOE, and our communications team. That's how we convey
The DOE gives that input to the county executive.
Sorry?
Who in DOE is the one who gives the input to the county executive's office?
We have our communications team.
Okay, then we would like to meet with your communications team.
Okay.
Kevin, this is a question for Kevin or Marilyn, if Marilyn's on this call right now. What does it mean to be an advisory commission?
That's a good question.
Yes, it is. And I've been on the commission for 3 years now. I'm still figuring out, when do we actually advise?
I think you've been doing your job as as a commission, in terms of having these messages, and I mean providing the right messages to our residents. So, but there's a process, right? So it's a continuous process of engaging and making sure that your inputs are considered in the process of crafting these messages. That's why we always remind you to please send us your suggestions and inputs for consideration by our division.
But
So
we have for years been sending the input that the why, and especially not just the why of saving money, but the why of the greenhouse gas
Climate change.
change direct angle, and it's not getting through.
And I have to add more than that. I'm talking about advising, not just on this particular issue about messaging, but when we're talking about everything that this commission should be involved with, which is greenhouse gases, landfills, composting. when are we going to be actually be sort of a partner with DOE? Because we have these meetings, and I sometimes wonder how much value these meetings actually have. Because I feel when we talk about things we would like to hear about, it's kind of hard to advise too when you don't know what you're advising about. Because a lot of times I don't think we get really good answers from DOE. Kevin, I'm not criticizing you, you're more of the messenger, but it seems like there's a lack of communications between the commission and DOE.
So, and when Nancy, just to butt in, when Nancy and I talked with Andrea Crooms at the TIEE hearing, that was part of what we talked about. And that was one of the reasons that she was going to be coming to this meeting, that we could talk about this on a one-on-one. And we both said, Nancy and I both said, and Andrea agreed, that we do way better when we talk with Andrea directly than when it gets to Kevin, who then tells it to Marilyn or not, who then tells it to Andrea or not. And each time we lose information in the old telephone game and nothing gets conveyed. So that's why Marilyn was coming to this meeting.
But it doesn't seem like she's here, although her icon is here.
Yeah,
Sorry, Andrea. That's why Andrea was coming.
Oh,
yeah, sorry,
Sorry.
Marty's microphone is not working. She tried to log out and log in and still not working. Sorry.
Barbara, since this is an ongoing concern, and as you know, I've had this concern ever since I've been on this commission, that the powers that be in the administration just seem to ignore any input that we have. Instead of trying to do this in this meeting, perhaps it's time that we ask for a direct meeting in the office. Or we have an opportunity coming up in January with the new county executive. Perhaps we can go directly to the county executive and voice our concerns.
Great idea.
I mean, it's a whole new ballgame come January.
Well, we don't know we don't know how soon the county executive is, if it's going to be an election or a appointment, and so we don't know.
It's still going to be early in the year,
Right.
even if it's an election. It's going to be early in the year. It'll be the first quarter of the year at the latest.
Yes. Yes. I think that's a great idea, because
I think we ought to shoot as soon as somebody's elected or appointed, that we reach out and try to set up a meeting and express our frustration and concerns and see if we can get up front immediately better cooperation.
I think that would be terrific, because it's very likely to be Jolene Ivey. And she has heard, as being a council member, she has heard so much of these discussions, and she's attended a number of these TIEE meetings where our frustration has come up.
I'm not going to assume it's going to be anybody in particular. It may be Ivy, it may not be Ivy.
Right. I'm just saying it's likely. Okay, and Marilyn just wrote in the messaging, sorry, Mike is not working. DOE committee's team did add gas information to compost messaging. It went out recently on a Tuesday tip, I believe, the Sprout. And
it did.
Yeah.
It was funny though, because we wanted them to emphasize the potent greenhouse gas. And they also mentioned that it was odorless and colorless. And if you're thinking about being concise, those two words, it doesn't really matter whether it's odorless and colorless. What it matters is that it is a potent greenhouse gas and global climate change.
And if it's odorless and colorless, then it seems like it's really not that bad.
Right.
Yeah, it needs a lot more explanation. And I fully agree with Louisa and Dave that this is one of these things where they did mention messaging, but it would be wonderful if we could have had a final proofing of the messaging before it went out, because I don't think it was a convincing thing to the county again. And when it's sent out on the Sprout, it's only to the people who have signed up to receive the Sprout, who tend to be us tree huggers. You know, Joe Q, who doesn't care one diddly about composting, does not sign up to receive the sprout. And those are the people we're trying to reach. You know, reaching Bill Walmsley or Luisa Robles doesn't really help a whole lot since they're composting already anyway.
Yeah.
So I think we need to meet, and I agree fully with Chuck, we need to meet with the county executive to find out their messaging team. And we need to have a meeting, Kevin, if you could set it up as soon as possible with the whatever, as you say, your messaging team within DOE, which to us is still a mystical thing after 3 years on this committee. But that we could really get this messaging thing start moving forward. So Marilyn writes, yes, please send us the language you recommend so we can get it to the DOE communications team. But we need to, Marilyn, thank you very much. But we need to talk to this communications team to find out, again, what length, that there are different messagings for different kinds of media, as Dave says, that how we reach the people who aren't already committed, signed up tree huggers. We need to talk to this messaging team and not just be on a third hand, we send to somebody and they send on the message to somebody else. We need to talk to them directly. This is just not working, this multiple relay system that we've had so far. Is you guys hear the frustration of all the members of the SWAC in how this is working or not. So please let us meet with your communications team. We would love to come down to wherever they are, be it Upper Marlboro, be it wherever. We will be there. A meeting in person, I think, would be the very best. I think everybody agrees that these in-person meetings, you actually get humanoids and not two-dimensional little tiny thumbnails. So if let's see, please contact Shirley Poston at requesting the meeting with the director and or Linda Lowe. Okay, so we should do it. You guys don't set it up? And it would be also very nice if we could have the hauler contract sent, since, you know, we did the Freedom of Information Act request. You guys said, they said it would be within 10 days. It's past 10 days. Because that would be another thing that's important to talk about, because I think these whole hauler fights or hauler, whatever you want to call it, people being unhappy with what's happening with the haulers would be very nice to be able to discuss with them also, because that messaging should go out. Because I think, as you guys hear, everybody here finds that 311 is not a great way to report anything if you actually want it done. I mean, if you want to let steam off and talk to somebody, it works. But if you'd actually like a result, it's not a terrific way. So something that we could do some messaging about actually reporting in a way that things get done would be great too. So however that could be set up would be wonderful if we could get such a thing set up. Is that Shirley schedules all of Andrea Kroom's meetings. That might be part of why Andrea is not in attendance. Shirley does her scheduling, but Andrea said she'd be here. I mean, we assumed that she actually, if she has somebody doing her scheduling and she promised she would be here, we would assume she would have passed that information on, but maybe that was a bad assumption. Okay, well, let's aim for the next time. Let me get back up here to put this into my report. Sorry, I'm trying to take notes here on the computer, which is always a pain in the butt.
Barbara, I think I think Kevin has at least one more part to his update.
Yes. Yes, distributing the recycle cards.
Yes.
Kevin, please go
Yes.
on.
One last item. So we have this repurposing of old carts in District 2, Louisdale, and we're almost complete with the distribution of the carts. We've done 9 mini events, and we hope to target the completion of this distribution by early next year. Some events, upcoming events, Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off event on December 7 at Largo Government Center, and the next one would be on March 15. Also, the 2024 Annual Waste Diversion and Recycling Awards will be held in January 2025, and we'll provide you the exact date once I get the confirmed date for the event. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those reports.
Barbara,
Yes,
I have 4 questions I'd like to pose to Kevin.
it's perfect. We're now on number 3, other business, so just perfect.
Okay. With regard to that, the tour, it looks like it can't happen, the second tour of Brown Station. Could we just do a meeting either at Brown Station in some office or maybe in one of the other DOE offices in the first or second week of January? Would that be possible, Kevin, to set up? I think you're on mute, Kevin.
So the 2 buildings at the landfill, close to the training center where we convened for the Area C tour, they will be demolished because of some mold issue. So it's not possible to have the meeting there. However, I will ask Marlene about, your suggestion to have a meeting at another building. But
There are meetings up, they're built rooms up to kazoo in the new buildings in Largo.
Marilyn just put in the chat that it could be one of the other county office buildings. So
Yeah, exactly.
So can we have that, try to get that scheduled for the first or second week of January? And when we have a time and date and place, then I'd like to invite the people, and I'll ask them to send that waiver, the liability waiver, if that's what we need for the meeting.
There's also conference rooms in the department's building, office buildings over in McCormick Park, not the main county building, but the department's building. So there's a number of places you could meet.
Mhm.
Okay, I will discuss with RRD about this, David.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like
Okay,
to
that
ask
was
you,
one question. Keep going, Dave.
yeah. For the emissions study, I think when you sent out something last day or so, you said that the emissions study would be of area C would be started after January, and then you said tonight that maybe not till after October 2025 when the actual completion of the area C has been finished. Does that mean the emission study is about a year off yet?
No, I'm sorry. The emission study will be held after January 2026. I'm sorry.
January 2026.
Yes, not 2025. Because Area C construction is still ongoing, and it will be completed by the last quarter of next year. So we asked UMD to have the study move to 2026. So it was a mistake. It's January 2026, not 2025.
I would like to make an argument, Kevin, that while Area B is still being used, it would be important to have an emissions study also. Waiting until Area B is capped off is a completely different question than what is being released when it's still being used. So I think it would be very important to have an emissions study before that.
Barbara, all the construction vehicles probably will contribute stuff that would skew the results with that, that have nothing to do with the landfill itself proper, but are, a direct result of the construction activity. So you don't want to combine that data with the other stuff because there's no way to separate the two, I don't believe.
It depends how localized. I thought when we talked with Russ Dickerson, they actually had some rather micro analysis, and that would separate out the Area C construction work from what is the Area B site of filling now.
There are also some new ways using drones to find and identify places where there may be emissions coming from. Or maybe those should be considered.
Yeah, Bill is right. Because if you want to come out with a study result that is very objective and fair, to avoid intervening factors like the construction, that's why the meeting with UMD had a decision to move that study in 2026, just to to be able to come up with results that's objective.
So you talked to Maryland about the University of Maryland about it, right? And it was a mutual agreement that to postpone it. Okay,
Right.
well, yeah.
Yes.
So for us to conjecture about what their equipment can and can't do is kind of mute if there's an agreement by the people who are actually conducting the study that it would be best to delay it until after that,
Okay,
So it was
and Marilyn just texted that Area B won't be capped for a while now. Not sure exactly when, but it's a while out since Area B ties into Area C. So
Yeah.
it sounds like she's saying if it is January 2026, that B does not have its final cap on it yet.
Barbara, when we were there, one of the things that we were told was that they were actually going to be building up Area B beyond what it's at now. So it may not be capped for a number of years.
I thought they had said that the B would get capped and then the C would go on top of the B cap. Isn't that correct, Kevin?
We're talking about the elevation, that some of it would drop and that they would add additional.
Right, it's an
refuse.
additional 40 feet.
Yeah.
It's 220 versus 260 or something like that. But I thought that they were first going to put the Area B cap on it and then keep building up. Isn't that correct, Kevin?
I have to confirm that. But Martin said Area B won't be capped for a while. Yeah, but it is a while out since Area B has ties into Area C. I'll have to confirm, Barbara.
Okay. Okay.
Barbara, I have two more questions.
Please.
The 10 proposals that were received for the RFP for that, which I think they're going to be awarding a bid toward the end of 2024. Can the commission see those proposals, Kevin?
Not usually.
Sorry. Not now, David, because it is under review by our proposal analysis group. And there's a confidentiality element into the review of the proposals. I will ask as to when you can have access to the proposals, but at this time, I think it's not possible yet.
So on expanding that question, Kevin, can we, since we were saying that this frustration of the commission members, that it seems like we're talking at a blank wall very often. Why couldn't we get screened and be within the confidentiality bubble that the DOE could actually use the commission members for helping evaluate such proposals? Who makes the decision that we cannot be screened and approved to help evaluate? Or is it just decided that you want a blank wall and you don't want us in it? I mean, has that come down from above, or what? Who would we appeal to that we could actually be part of this process?
So there's an existing memo regarding that proposal analysis group, and that memo defines who the members will be, what are the functions and responsibilities. So there are restrictions and, you know, limitations as far as membership is concerned.
Who wrote the memo? Who do we talk to for about it?
That memo comes from the county leadership, I believe. Because it's
those are all procurement issues that have really, DOE is not necessarily always involved in those. There's a lot of legalities involved in who reviews proposals and how they can be reviewed, and trying to interject at this late in the game. All you're doing is
says it comes out of
opening it up for
the Office of Law.
It's opening it up for protest. You start changing the rules this late in the game.
Well, even that in the future, we could be.
The Office of the Law will not allow us to be part of the procurement process.
Yeah. Maryland says it's the Office of Law.
Yeah.
The county's attorney.
Okay, guys, it's after 7.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Do
not out.
people,
I have another
and
question.
Dave, you have another point.
Yeah.
Yeah, this goes back to, I think, the last question or the last update Kevin gave, and that's regarding the extra 1,000, I guess, trash carts that are being distributed as, I guess, extra trash carts. Does that send the wrong message? Here's another cart so you can put out more trash versus trying to get it recycled or into compost?
I think they're replacements.
Yeah, we're replacing the old recycling carts. We're providing new recycling carts so that residents recycle more.
One thing that I'd like to interject regarding that is that in my daily walks through the neighborhood, there's a lot of households that do not have sufficient numbers of trash cans because you've got more than one family living in the house. You don't have any we don't know which houses that's the case for, but I can tell you, you can see 2 different sets of trash going out. A lot of those second sets aren't using the county because they're already county's toters because they're already filled up by the primary resident. So they're putting the stuff in plastic bags. What's happening is, at least in my neighborhood, the cats, the crows, raccoons, foxes are tearing the hell out of those plastic bags. So that when the hauler actually comes through the neighborhood, there's stuff all over the place that's been torn apart by the animals, let alone them not putting it out proper to start off with. But let's just say it's the animal's fault. So I think somebody needs to look more closely at what provision is being made for collection of those people who are within the unincorporated areas that the county provides collection services, to make sure that there's sufficient stuff for them to pick, because when they recycle, they put it in a plastic bag. Well, the haulers aren't supposed to pick up the plastic bags with recycle in it, but they aren't going out and buying a trash can because, if they're living in basement of the house. You know, it's not an official residence, but that's where they live. So they're not buying trash cans or anything like that. So they put everything out in a plastic bag, recycles all the trash, you know, so you're not getting as much, you know, as you need as far as stuff being picked up. It's causing problems for the haulers. It's also causing, you know, problems for the general litter in the neighborhoods because, you know, there isn't provision for them to properly put the stuff out for collection.
That's a real good point, Bill.
That's my observation. And like I say, I can walk through my neighborhood and I can point the houses to you that in fact are having multiple families living in them. And if you go out, tomorrow's our trash day. When I go out tomorrow morning, usually now with Bates's schedule, I go out before they've made hauls. I can see where the stuff has been pulled apart, you know? And it's all over the streets. And Bates, you know, they're not required to pick that stuff up. And the people in the neighborhood aren't either. Well, it's in the street. It's not mine, you know? The abutment ordinance doesn't mean anything to anybody. They don't even understand what it is. So they don't worry about the trash that's in the street, particularly now that they've got street sweepers that come around once a month.
So Kevin, following up on this, aren't the haulers required to tag things if they are in inappropriate vessels now? So like recycling put in a plastic bag, aren't they required to put a door hanger?
They are, Barbara. So we also have our recycling inspectors doing the rounds to tag contaminated carts. So it's a continuing effort to reduce recycling contamination.
But do they actually? Bill, can you find out? Can you sort of see
Find out what?
if there are
I don't see any, there's no stickers being put on that I can see. But I thought there had been that the stickers are being revised and they hadn't been distributed yet for the new hauler contract. But that aside, I can tell you that I see stuff that isn't picked up, and I know why it's not picked up because it's a recycling bin and they've got 4 or 5 plastic bags hanging out of it. Well, the hauler isn't supposed to pick up that stuff because if he goes to the MRF with a bunch of plastic bags, the load's going to get rejected. So,
but
you know,
but those containers that have the plastic bags hanging out of them, they don't have any sticker on saying that why they weren't
I've not seen any stickers being put on any, but I've been seeing stuff that's rejected for various reasons. Same with stuff for the yard waste and that, you know, they've got plastic bags in that, yeah, that's why it's rejected, but no one's telling them. When I see somebody out to the curb, I'll tell them, hey, look, the reason why that didn't get picked up is because you got stuff in plastic bags. And they give you a dumb look and like, well, that's how I take care of it, you know? But who am I to tell them how they're supposed to do their trash?
Okay, so Kevin, if we can indeed get Marilyn to come out, or can get Andrea to come out, or if not, if we can maybe take up a collection to buy Marilyn a microphone, that we could get her participating verbally at meetings. That would be something that we would love to find out for the next meeting, is really what has been the follow through? How much, how often have Bates and the other haulers been fined for not putting out such warning notices, or are they indeed putting out such notices and we don't know about it? But what is the follow through in trying to make the haulers actually live up to what we hoped would be in the contract, which we don't know because we haven't seen the contract? But if we could get some follow through on that, that would be terrific.
Okay.
Any other questions, Dave?
No, thank you.
Other questions, Bill? Okay, then I have a question from other people in my street.
I was going to say, I did have another question, Barbara.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was on
Please
mute.
go ahead.
with the RFP, Kevin, do you have any idea when the actual, since the award's going to be at the end of this year, is there anything known yet as to when the work is supposed to start, when it's supposed to be completed? Now that you've got proposals in hand, or is that going to be dependent on who selected as the winning one? And it was up to them to just tell you what they were going to propose as far as completion dates, start dates, and all that? Or is that something in the RFP? It said the work will start on X date and it'll be completed by Y date, and, you know, tell us how you're going to do X and Y, you know, meet X and Y.
There is a stated timeline, I believe, in the RFP, and it's going to start from next year. I can't recall the target completion date, but I can research about it. But yes, there's a timeline. It's, you know, time bound. That project is time bound because, you know, the county has to address that issue of, you know, the landfill gas.
At $1 million or $2 million a year, it would be really nice if this would move forward eventually. Okay, then I have questions from people on my street. Are the haulers allowed to turn around on private property? Are they allowed to pull into people's driveways to turn around?
Marilyn said no in the chat.
Okay, so how do we report? Because our neighbor just had her driveway re-graveled and it's been completely trashed by Bates turning around in there and accelerating and then spewing rocks everywhere. And routinely, they do this always. So let me check this. Let's see if Marilyn has responded to that in the chat. Oh, come on, chat.
She says they should not be using a private driveway.
Okay, that's terrific. So when they are, what do we do about it?
311.
Okay, she has, but she's reported it to 311 a million times. I mean, that's a problem. The 311 is a lost hole. Okay, we will send it to you, Marilyn, also. Okay, and the other thing that they do is then they take the neighbor's trash, recycle, toter, you know, the trash and recycle and yard waste toters, and put them way into her neighbor's property, whether or not they are emptied, because they want to move it way far away from her driveway that they can turn around in her driveway. So it just makes a complete mess here. It would be terrific if there was some way that actually Bates could be held to live up to what you guys would like them to do, remotely live up to. Yeah, because they don't. And Jen keeps reporting that the toters are put onto the neighbor's property, and you know, you report it and it goes into a black hole of 311. Okay, so we will start reporting it to you, Marilyn.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably more efficient than 311, which doesn't work. Yeah, because it would be, again, good to have a meeting with somebody who is in charge of these Bates guys and some of the neighbors, because it's just a continuing, ongoing headache. And the neighbors, you know, after they've reported it 10 times to 311 and nothing happens, they say, why do I keep reporting it? And I can't give a good answer. It's because people say to report it and it's not going to do anything. You know, that it's not a good answer. It would be really nice if it could get resolved. And we had hoped with the new contract that things would be better and that the Bates guys would be fined when they act badly and that they would be fined enough that it would correct their actions. But if anything, they've gotten a lot worse since the new contract has come in. It's like they're being belligerent because they know they can get away with all of this stuff. And again, I don't know if this is true. I think I mentioned this before. One of the 311 operators told me that she has it on very good advice that Bates has a family tie with one of the important county people and that they know they can get away with anything. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, it's really depressing. So it would be very nice if we could get some report to see that Bates actually is being issued fines. And maybe other haulers are as bad as Bates, and I'm just picking on Bates because I know them. But man, do I know how bad they are. Because we've had them for years. So sorry for my rant, but it's, you know, the neighbors come to me because they know that I'm on the SWAC, and I say, well, I'll report it.
Marilyn says Bates has been fined and will continue to be fined when in violation.
Cool. Okay, we'd love to know how much, how often, for which things they have been fined, for which they have actually paid the fine, and for which they've argued the fine way down or away. I mean, all of those things, not just issued a fine, but for where they have actually chucked up the required money.
Barbara, instead of just playing on Bates, I think we had asked some time ago for the reports that were done or the follow-ups that were done after these contracts were let, and there were problems, and they said, oh, they were still in the 60-day period, and they wanted to wait until that before they determined. We asked for that information a month ago, 2 months ago, and never got it. The question now for me is, have they updated any information? Has there been any improvement? If there's been no improvement, who are still the bad guys? Let's not just concentrate on your street and Bates.
Right, exactly.
So
No, I fully agree.
There are other players that were potentially subject to fines, and we asked for the information, were they ever going to be fined? And we were told they were just sitting back waiting until they could do a further follow-up. Well, as far as I know, that clock is run.
Right. Marilyn says
That's
fines.
more the frustration with this commission and the frustration dealing with the administration. We're not getting the information that we've requested, and we can't really do anything and can't even make recommendations if we're going to be stonewalled.
Right. So that's why I would like the report, exactly as you asked, that which haulers, how much have they been fined? Marilyn says the fines are deducted from the monthly payment, but how much fines have been deducted from their monthly payment?
And when was it done?
Yes. Yeah. So if we can, for the next meeting, get some sort of a report on that, please.
Marilyn. So I'd like to have some clarity on the action items, because there's been a few things that have been mentioned. One of them is, can we meet with the communications people? Another one, those stickers that they put when people make a mistake and they're not supposed to pick it up, they were supposed to be updated. Have they been updated? Can we see the language? Now, this is another request, and there was another one that I'm blanking on, but we should have like an action section in our minutes so that we know which actions need to be taken and by whom.
Louisa, one other thing that I think I'd love to see would be that meeting, the ground station meeting, not tour, but meeting at one of the other county office buildings.
There you go.
Okay, and I've been taking notes also, so I will see that then after this session is over, if I see other action items, and we'll send them out to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and Marilyn says, all contractors who are in violation have the associated fines deducted from their payment. At least one contractor had a service area terminated. Yeah, okay, we had heard about that actually a ways back. And then, I'm not allowed to release specific fine information by company. I provide the total August fine amount to SWAC. SWAC might be able to get the fine amount by company by submitting an MPIA. We can try another MPIA, but since they haven't, you know, yet followed up on the first requested MPIA, it somehow seems the whole way of working, if we are supposed to be an advisory, helping DOE, RRD, whatever, with efficiency, with working with the citizens, with trying to get everything smoother. If these walls keep being put up and everything we have to try to find out is with an MPIA and then it's month and they do or don't give it, it's not a way to have a collaborative interaction. It's again, it sets up a walls and hostility and not a collaborative working relationship, which I fear is what DOE, how it's doing things with residents also. That we really want to work on having collaborative relationships, the SWAC with the DOE with residents, really trying to put energy into solving the waste problem and not into fighting with each other.
Yes.
And so Marilyn and Kevin, if we can ask how you see how we could move forward in that direction, or if there is no interest in moving forward in that direction, if you let us know that. Okay, it's now 7:23.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, this past weekend, there was a trash sort done for Baltimore Harbor for the trash wheel that they have down there. And I know Barbara participated in it. I was there. And we picked up, I just got an email today on the number of the amount of stuff that was picked up in that, and it was substantial. We got like, I don't know, where did it go? We got like 2,900 let me get my glasses. 2,938 beverage containers, 1,973 were plastic bottles, 6,669 plastic wrappers, 691 foam containers, 588 plastic cups, 208 plastic bags, 25 sports balls,
And I think, do you remember, Bill, they said that this one toter from Mr. Trash Wheel was like 1/20th or something like that of the year, or 1/50th?
Wow, it was about 2/3 of a 15 cubic yard roll-on, and that was representing just 1 month's worth of trash. And they let it be known that a lot of these were much less bottles than normal because we haven't had any rain, and it's the rain that flushes that stuff down out of the storm sewers and into creeks and that, because the trash wheels are positioned such that they get the feeds into Baltimore Harbor. So they didn't get as much as they normally would because we hadn't had the rain to flush out the storm sewer systems. But there was a lot of trash.
Also, just because when it is, there are a whole lot of leaves in there.
Yeah.
And if it's earlier in the year, there are way fewer leaves, but they do the sort later because it's less smelly.
The president of the Maryland Senate was there at the end, and it was, I think, eye-opening for him to see how much was actually being collected as far as the beverage, because the new bottle bill is going to be presented to this year's coming legislative session for hopefully for passage this time through. So we'll see.
And Delegate Jen Terrazzo was also there, and she's the one who's the lead sponsor on the bottle bill and has been for several years. And she's a terrific person from Howard.
That's all.
It was good. Thank you for bringing that up, Bill.
Yeah, there was well over 100 people participating in the doing the sorts.
Wow.
So it was
That's
a well-attended event.
Yeah.
Well, this is like the seventh one of them that they've done. So they've got a pretty well-oiled machine for conducting these things and getting people on board for doing it and stuff like that. And it works.
And the guy who who developed or came up with Mr. Trash Wheel was also there. I don't know if you got a chance to talk with him, Bill. He was a really
No.
interesting guy. Yeah. So, and apparently lots of places, Seattle is asking for information from him how to set up their own Mr. Trash Wheel. They have what, 6 Mr. Trash Wheels, although one of them is a Ms. Trash Wheel now with long eyelashes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
Just reiterating the action item thing so that we don't keep forgetting who's in charge of doing what.
Okay, Kevin, if you write up what you see as action items and I'll write up what I see as action items, and we can then send this out to everybody and everybody can comment on it. We can try to get a compiled list, please.
Yeah, I'll draft
That's a
my notes.
That's a great idea, Louisa, to be pushing on this action items. We need to do that.
Yeah, I find it very helpful when I'm running meetings to do a list of action items so I don't forget stuff.
Okay. So for future meetings, can we deputize you as our action item list guru?
Sure. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great new assignment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll be it.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been trying to keep notes and catch it, but I might have missed some. And so I will send it out and Kevin will send out, and then you guys can fill in what we missed.
Sure.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for coming. And thank you, Marilyn, for coming and sending those notes by text that when your mic doesn't work. And if there is any way that we can encourage DOE to get you a computer with a mic that would work, because it seems like about half the meetings, it's wonderful that you come, Marilyn, but it's half the meetings. It seems like your mic doesn't work. And I bet for a few $100 we can buy you a computer with a microphone. And I'm certainly very happy to make a contribution toward that. It would be wonderful to say, or I bet DOE has a computer with a microphone that they could give you even.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow to have it that it would work, that if Marilyn and Kevin can test out systems to try to get it to work for future meetings, because it's frustrating.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Have a good
Really?
evening.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much,
Good night.
everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks,
Happy
everyone.
everything.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.